Welcome to another one of my YouTube videos. Most of my videos are educational for people who have never done what I am going to talk about. And if you have wired a lamp before, then you probably have no reason to be watching this video. But if it helps you, please do that thumbs up, subscribe, like, or go to my channel page and click on the donate button, the support button, and help me out if you want to. So I've got this old lamp here, really old lamp. And I want to replace the cord. It's got maybe a 6-foot cord on here, and I want to put on a 15-foot cord. So I'm going to tell you what you need to do. I'm going to give you some things to look out for. And so the parts that you're going to need, the supplies you will need, are the wire. I'm going to explain the wire. This is really important, so I'll get to that in a minute. You're going to need a screwdriver probably to take apart your lamp. This has got screws on the top and the bottom. You're going to need some masking tape, and the reason I'm going to use masking tape is this lamp has 3 parts. It's got a top, bottom. I need to label which side is 1, 2, and 3 and how it all goes together so I don't have a problem getting the screws back in there and making it all go together. So masking tape, I'll show you, really helps out a lot. A little container so that you can put your hardware. You're going to want a meter so that you can check the continuity, make sure the wires aren't shorting out, make sure a wire, the 2 wires that are in here are not touching this metal thing so that you touch this thing and kill yourself. You don't want to do that. Informational only. Do not do this unless you know what you're doing. And that's what the video is about. You're going to want some wire cutters so you can cut the wire. You're going to need some electrical tape, maybe, to go in there and protect this thing. We'll see. You need a little marker so you can mark things up. Now, let's get on to the wire part of it. That's the important part. This wire, this is an old lamp. And you can't really see it now, but the wire goes in this tiny little hole all the way up this lamp, comes out of a hole and connects into here. So you'd think, okay, let me go down to the store and buy some wire. Well, that's what I did. Go down to HD or to the Lowe's or wherever, and you buy some wire, and this is what they sell you. They sell you this nice, thick wire, which is 18 gauge. Most of these things were 18 gauge wire, 18-2, meaning 18 gauge 2 conductor. So you buy this 18-2, and you go to rewire your lamp, and you say, hey, wait a second. Look at this wire. Let's compare these two. This wire is huge. It's thick. It's never going in the hole. The problem in life, it's never going to get in the hole. And it's never going to route up here, and it's never going to come out of this hole, and you're never going to get the lamp rewired, and now you're in trouble. And you just went out and spent a ton of money. Look at this brown wire. This wire is $20. And when they sold it to me, they gave me a receipt that I handed to the cashier. And when I went to return it because they sold me the wrong wire, they wouldn't give me my money back. Luckily for me, when we looked on the receipt, the cashier said, hey, she never charged you. I said, well, in that case, I'm keeping the $20 of wire that you weren't going to give me my money for. So don't get into that trap. Let me show you what the wire says. Look over there, SPT-2, Sam Paul Tom-2. SPT wire is huge, and it's not going to fit in most of these lamps. Luckily, I was able to get some SPT-1. Now, if you have SPT-1, you've got thin enough wire, both of them 18 gauge, both of them 18-2. This is thick insulation made to, it's not for outdoor wiring. This is not supposed to be used outdoors. But this has got a thicker insulation so it will stand up to being outdoors or around things that might wear out the insulation. Whereas this has a thinner insulation and it's strictly meant to be kept indoors, nowhere near any harmful anything. So again, this is not outdoor wiring. If you got nothing else out of this video, if you get nothing else, SPT-1, SPT-2, big difference. They don't tell you that. I told the guy, give me the thin wire. I didn't know what the numbers were. He gave me the thick wire, and luckily I'm not getting nailed for $20 in expenses for their mistake or my mistake for not knowing. So what I'm going to do now, label the lamp, and then I'm going to take it apart and I'm going to show you how to put on a wire, a new cord. Fairly simple. I used the masking tape and I labeled everything 1, 1, 1. Got a 3 over here, and a 2 over here, 3 over here, a 2 over here. I've got the 1 on the bottom. So I can take the lamp apart and I should be able to put everything back together. Sometimes on these lamps you can squeeze in or pull out to remove this piece. I should be able to do that on this thing, or it might be stuck underneath. Sometimes you can go in there and unscrew everything and not have to go through taking the whole lamp apart. But with this thing, the wire goes up through the piece of wood, so I'm going to have to take it apart. So far we've used the masking tape, we've used the marker. Now I'm going to use the screwdriver. The cord goes through the bottom of the wood. I didn't have to take all the lamp apart, but this is where you need to be really careful. When you start to assemble these lights after you finish wiring them, you put it together and you start spinning the wire and you put all this pressure on there. Look at that wire. That's not good. You don't want wire spun around like that. And you would never know that. I mean, it's spun all the way around. That's really not a good thing. Sometimes it's not a bad thing, but it's not a good thing. So you got to be careful when you're putting this thing in that you don't spin this top part and it goes there and twists all your wire and puts a lot of strain on there. So you might have to you might have to loosen, not unloosen. You might have to loosen your nut. Be careful if you're loosening your nut. You might be able to loosen the top part over here. The goal is to get this piece up. You should be able to pull up on this part over here, and that should let this wire come free. So this top part separates from the bottom part, and then it will snap back down. It should clamp in place. A lot of times it might be safer or easier to replace this piece. This looks very old, but I didn't want to spend $7 to do this after spending $7 on some wire. So it's up to you. I'm going to go separate this now and continue the video. I was able to separate the top. This is what we have here. That's why they give you this cardboard piece to stop the wires from shorting out and shocking you. So the wire's in here. It's extremely tight. I don't know how I'm going to do this, to be honest with you. This wire is really bound up in here, and it's going to take a nice tight turn over here, and I don't know how I'm going to pull this thing through. Again, if you're using SPT1, you have a fighting chance. If you're using SPT2 on a lamp like this, it's not even going to go in this hole here, let alone feeding through a lamp. If you bought a new socket, then you can just cut off the wires and yank them out of your lamp. If you're using the socket over again, be careful. You don't want to damage the screws. Unscrew the screws, pull the wire out, take it out of your lamp, and get ready to prepare the new piece of wire, the new cord. Now they were nice enough to strip the wire. Chances are, if you don't have to route your cable through a lamp thing like this, you'll be okay, and you should just be able to use the prepared ends to put on the screws. In my case, I've got to shove the wire through here. I'm probably going to end up ruining all of this, and then I'll have to cut it off and strip it again. But the most important part of this video, besides safety, is look at the difference here. SPT2. There's no way this wire would fit in the hole. No way at all. Impossible. There's no way it would route through a lamp like this. You wouldn't be able to push this through this hole and route it in here. And the SPT1, at least you have some chance of doing it. It was wired by the factory that way. You should be able to do it. So make sure you get, if you need the small insulation, SPT1. If you don't, go with the SPT2. You can see the SPT1 at least fits in the hole. No way would SPT2 go in there. Since you've got your lamp apart and you're going to be rewiring, you might want to do some cleaning. I'm doing some cleaning. You can see all the dirt, whatever that is, some type of mold or growth on the wood, and a little bit of polishing, cleaning up with wet and dry 600 sandpaper, and it looks a little better. It is almost done. I just wanted to show you. Take your time when you do this stuff. Be patient. Don't rush. Set some time aside to work on these things, maybe a couple hours, a couple days. You can see the wood's nice and clean now. All that dirt is gone. I took the socket apart, cleaned it up a little bit, little polish, cleaned this up, washed off all the dirt that was in there, took this apart, tried to shine this up a little bit as best as I could, took that off, cleaned it up. So I still want the lamp to look like it's an old lamp, so I'm not going to go cleaning all of this off, but take your time and try to do some good quality work. Be patient. Now it's time to put the wire through and start assembling this lamp back together. And I'll show you how to wire up the socket, which is exactly how it looks, just opposite of taking it apart. Now your lamp is going to vary compared to mine, but I've got the wire pushed in through the bottom, routed through here. I've got it looped up here and it comes out the hole. I'm going to get everything wired into the socket and then I'll pull the wire back out and down. So your next step will be feed it into the bottom of your light socket, and then we are going to, you can see how this comes apart in three pieces. You have your socket, and you've got your protective cardboard, and then you have your upper part of the socket. So I'm going to get the wire through here. I'm going to make some nice clean strips around the edge of the wire, the ends of the wire, and then I'm going to wrap the wire around, make sure it's nice and clean, tight. Wrap it this way around the screw, I'll show you, so that when you tighten the screw, the wire wraps around with it. It doesn't come undone if you put it on backwards. Now what I like to do is loosen the screws so you have room to work, and then this came with some solder on the tip so the wire should not come apart and fray. If you don't have solder on the tip of your wire, just tighten it with between your fingers, wrap it, not so much that it starts coming apart, and then you want to make a very nice clean wrap around the screw. You don't want the insulation under the screw. You don't want that plastic under the screw. And you don't want too much wire extending so that it could short down onto the metal case and put current in there and kill you. So you want to do it like that. I'm going to put the other wire on and tighten these both down and then show you what it looks like. That's the final result. That wire is going down pretty far. The thing that saves you is inside here. It's insulated, so it should isolate that wire. I'm going to try to get in there with some wire cutters and snip off that little tip if I can, just for precaution. And then after that, after you get your wires in there, then you will start assembling the socket. You'll put this piece on there, and then you line it up and snap it in and pull your wires down. That's what it looks like when it's trimmed. That's not long. That's not too long. That's not going to be a problem. So that's where the wires cut. That's the final result. I snipped it off so it's not hanging down. The other one, that's fine. You have that insulation that should protect you. It's a little bit worn. This is very old, but that would protect you, or you could wrap some electrical tape around there, maybe, if it would close this whole thing up. I don't know if it would all fit on. Or you buy a new socket. And then you start to assemble this. You might need wire strippers to strip the insulation off the wire. It was already stripped, so I didn't need that. Or if you know how to use your wire cutters without nicking the wire, you can use those also. Wires are not hanging down. They're covered by the cardboard. Finish closing the socket, and then snap these two pieces back together. Pull your wire downward as you're doing that so it doesn't bunch up and break off inside. So you'll pull from the bottom as you start to snap these two pieces together. The socket's wired up now, but before you close everything up, you want to do some continuity checking to make sure that nothing is shorted and that everything is connected together. Now, I'm going to get out the meter and I'll show you what I mean. Now, if you have a buzzer or a continuity checker, let's make sure it's working. and put the two probes together. So we hear a little beep over there. First thing I want to do is put my meter on one side of the switch. Remember that your skin has some resistance, so you don't want to put your finger on both sides and do your testing. You only want to have it on one. And then you want to put it on the other side. We know it's not shorted because we don't hear a beeping sound. Okay, now I want to go over to this fixture to make sure it's not shorted on there, and it's not going to kill me if the light goes on. I want to make sure it's not shorted on this side. Okay, so we're good so far. Now I want to turn on the switch. I don't know if this is a three-way switch, so it could be. And I'm going to do that one more time just to make sure if it is a three-way switch that we have nothing shorted onto the outside. So I'm safe as far as that's concerned. Now, the next step, the reason we have this piece of cardboard in here is to keep the outer base part of the socket of the bulb from touching this metal and shocking you. So we should have power on one leg of this cord. There we go. We shouldn't have it on this end. Okay, so we're doing good. Let me put the probe in here now. Let's check that again. We have power on the base. This is a three-way switch. No, this is... Okay, so we're doing good, which means that one leg is connected to the base, and we are going to be switching the power, which is going to be on this side. So let me go on this part of the cord. Now we should not have a connection here, unless the switch is on. No, that's not true either because we're not shorted out yet. We should not have a connection here, and we don't, but we should have it on the center probe. There we go, we've got it on the, well, we had it on the center probe. And it should turn off. We lost it. Okay, so that's good. And we should get it back again. Definitely a three-way switch. But we should not have it on the outer base. So we're good. The socket is wired properly. The switch is working. It does go on when you turn it, and you break the signal when you turn it again. So now it's time to close up the lamp and make sure everything works to finish off the video. One of the biggest mistakes that people always make when they do stuff like this. I forgot to put the wire through before I wired it all up, which means I have to tear this whole thing apart now and redo it. Big mistake, always done by the people who know what they're doing. So, oops, don't do that if it's your turn. Normally, it would not be a big deal because I wouldn't have a plug on here and I could just pull the wire through anyway, but I wasn't thinking, and I can't do that because I did buy a cord with a plug on it. So, big oopsie. I'll finish off the video after I go and undo everything and rewire it again. Ooh, boy. The lamp is almost finished. You can see how the wire goes straight down and is not twisted as it goes through like it was originally. That's what you want. You want it to be no stress, no tension on the wire over here, and a nice clean routing if you're going to be doing something like this. You have it. The cord is now mounted on the lamp. So I showed you how to mostly wire the cord. You're not going to have a lamp like this where you're going to be routing it. But I just showed you that it's fairly simple to connect two wires to a socket. It's a very old socket. It works tight, so it's I probably should have replaced it. It's binding a little bit, but that will be the next video. Time to plug it in and see if it works. If you like my videos, thumbs up, subscribe, or like. Feel free to link this to any website if you want to. This is just a simple way on how to put a power cord onto an antique lamp. And if you just bought regular wire, it's very easy to buy a plug. These plugs, you can push the wire in there and clamp down on a little lever, and it will make the connection for you. Let me plug it in now, and we'll test it out. Here we go, the big reveal. Power cord is plugged in, light bulb is in there. What's going to happen? Nothing. Then it is a three-way lamp. It's either a three-way socket or it is not wired properly. There we go. 1, 2. It's a three-way outlet, or it's a three-way socket. Very old. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video. Good luck. Make sure power is off if you were doing any testing on your lamp. Check for continuity before you plug it in. Double check to make sure that wires aren't shorting to the outside of this socket.